Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, your Breakfast Bankroll, Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. The return of Jules. Man, I miss our Tuesday morning chats, as I like to write up, that trip over the Sagamore Bridge down Route 3, over to 93 as we get into Boston. And, Jules headquarters, DraftKings headquarters, and no vacation for this gentleman as speaking for myself, I know exactly what he was going through. So it's so good to have him back. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Julian Edlow.
Good morning, Jeff. Good to be back. It feels nice to be working, not changing diapers all day and doing all that. Shout out to the wife who is handling that now that I am back.
Oh, man, it seemed like it's been forever. So much has happened since the last time that we had a show and talked. So maybe we can start with a quick recap in regards to the landscape. Let's start in college football, because I know going back to August, we did a lot of futures. You did a lot of team totals. We're down to the conference championships. How are you sitting right now?
Not as good as I wanted to be. I didn't think that Alabama would lose twice. I thought they had one loss in them, and we probably deserved to lose Alabama futures because on the eye test, that team wasn't as good as a lot of us thought it would be this season. But in terms of, winning an over 10.5 win total or being in the SEC championship game and winning that division, their losses were an overtime 2-point conversion on the road at LSU and a walk-off field goal at Tennessee in a game that boosted Tennessee to #1 in the country. So, their losses are not bad at all. They just needed one of those coin flips to go their way, and they both went the other way, and that takes the opportunity away from them. So, Alabama, definitely a down year for them. But just get a fingertip on a pass on a 2-point conversion or a kicker in Tennessee shanks one. Now they're 11-1. They're going to play Georgia in the SEC title game. And we're talking about, can they beat Georgia and take over the 1 seed in the college football playoff? So they weren't as far off, I guess, as people feel like they were from being where we expected them to be. But yeah, eye test wise, the team just wasn't good enough. Bryce Young was good enough and just didn't have enough around him, I would say. So some other win totals just in weird positions, like the Mountain West unders that I played did really well. Nevada under 5, they were awful. Hawaii under 4.5, they were awful. Got a little bit better as the season went on, actually, but still good enough to get us there. Airball from me on UNC, played the under 7.5 wins. They're just good. That's big. And then some other unfortunate stuff, this is a weird one and I don't want to harp on it or anything, but like a UVA win total under. I had them under 7.5 games. Obviously, huge tragedy there. They don't play their last 2 games. They only play 10 games. They went 3-7. So even if they win those last 2, they go 5-7, and that's an easy cash. But obviously, that's a whole different situation, and wish everyone involved there that had a loss the best. But that's just kind of how this stuff works out. Like when you're betting sports, are you right or you're wrong? Like you got to remember sometimes these other life situations that can play a factor. It goes back to situations like UVA. It goes back to situations like COVID. When I had some of my favorite college basketball futures I had ever placed, they were in fantastic position. Whole tournament gets wiped. So just void everything. But yeah, college football went okay. Not as good as I was hoping for. Mostly the big swing once I grade everything and put it out after the championship games are played. The big swing was just Alabama not winning 11 games and reaching the SEC title game. So that hurts.
So I guess the big question, sad for me. I had the circuit ticket. I called it the Champions ticket, worth 11,000. Astros win the World Series, and 20 minutes later, Alabama lost its second game at LSU. So I didn't even.
I was there when you placed that, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So now, I told you I think you should take Bama. I think.
Yeah,
but I'm off the hook kind of because I think we were between Bama and Ohio State, right?
Correct.
Ohio State's on the outside looking in too. So now I don't have to feel bad about giving you Bama. What I meant to say was Georgia.
Georgia, there you go. And Team Khaki with Michigan. So I'm going to ask you the $1 million question. Listen, you go back to that Tennessee game. Alabama was up 7. They intercepted Tennessee, and they ran it all the way to the Tennessee 25. Game over, and then the phantom flag, and then Tennessee ties it up, and then the walk-off field goal. The LSU 2-point conversion, hats off to Brian Kelly. Ohio State 9-point favorites. Michigan basically without their star running back. They, like Tennessee, controlled their own destiny. 2 weeks ago, Tennessee was minus 240 at DraftKings to go to the Final Four. They just had to beat a South Carolina team, and then they had to beat Vanderbilt. Well, they gave up 63 to South Carolina. So I'm going to ask you, I know you watched the game Saturday. You know what's going on. Obviously, USC wins. They're in. We understand that part of it. I finally, it took me Saturday to say, you know what? Just put the 3 undefeated teams in. I don't care if TCU loses at this point. I was waiting for them to lose to Texas or Baylor, and then they were out. Well, they beat them both. I think they're in. So I'm going to ask you tonight at 7 o'clock or whenever the show is, who's above each other? Ohio State, or does Bama sneak above Ohio State?
Yeah, so obviously we know the top 4 in order does Michigan jump Georgia, I guess, but I think it would be Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and I'm with you. I think all 3 get in no matter what at this point. K-State's pretty good if they lose that game, revenge game. If there was, if Alabama had 1 loss, if there were other things below them, then maybe they could get jumped. I don't think they can. USC, you're right. They're in a playoff game Friday night against Utah in Vegas. And I like them in that game. I have a lot of Utes futures. I'll probably be hedging off of them because I like USC. Below that, it gets interesting because you kind of run out of options. But if USC loses twice, you're probably going to put a 1-loss Ohio State team or a 2-loss Alabama team in over a 2-loss USC team. That's just the way things go. So I don't think I'm trying to wipe my Bama bias out of this. I don't think I'm being biased in saying that Alabama had a better season than Ohio State against better competition. They're just going by what their losses are. Again, coin flip walk-off loss overtime on the road at LSU, coin flip walk-off loss on a field goal at Tennessee, who was number 1 in the country for a period of time. LSU, before completely choking against A&M, was in the playoff mix. Those are 2 understandable road losses that you weren't blown out in. You were right there with a chance to win the game. Ohio State just got embarrassed, pantsed at home as a near double-digit favorite. I think Alabama has the better resume, personally. What do I think tonight? I think we see Ohio State 5, Alabama 6. So I think I'm wrong, but that's how I feel.
And the last straw that I thought that Ohio State had to hold on to was they were rooting for Notre Dame, obviously, because they beat Notre Dame early in the year.
Right.
They could have said, hey, you were going to put USC in with a win against Notre Dame and obviously a win against the Utes. Well, Notre Dame just knocked them off. We knocked them off.
South Carolina destroyed this playoff bracket at the end of the year. They take it away from Tennessee, and then now we're getting to the point where, what if USC and TCU both lose? And I know we just said TCU we feel like is in, but what if TCU was now 12-1 with that loss? What if Clemson had beaten South Carolina, goes on to steamroll UNC on Saturday night. I took +8 with UNC, but what if they did? Now, what if they're 12-1 with only a road loss at Notre Dame and a conference champion? Does that slide above TCU? Like, that's right on the same level. So, like, Clemson was a playoff team too. South Carolina took away potentially 2 bids. Like, they're the reason that this field is now so, like, who do we put in if some of these teams fall out? There's not even a good option because South Carolina took away 2 potentially good options.
100% agree. 100 and this South Carolina, I mean, Rattler is who we thought he was finally, you know? I mean, he had a big
Took him long enough.
It did, and I saw him with the Joe Burrow cigar. I thought it was kind of comical.
That's a bit much.
Last college question for now, Jules. The rumors, the talks all week. Lane is jumping ship. He's going to Auburn, which I thought was just a lateral move. Lane, what are you doing? In comes Mr. Freeze, the Freeze Master himself, and a lot of chirping going on social media. Any hot takes or any thoughts with Hugh Freeze to Auburn?
Not really. It's a surprising hire. I don't know if it's going to work for Auburn. They seem to just kind of be making quick moves around all these coaches that aren't working for them. So I would guess this will be a rather short stint, or this isn't the guy that they're looking for, and we'll find that out within a couple of years.
So you say the stopgap, they didn't get their guy and just try to plug the hole for now?
I think they're hoping it's the guy. I think that's why they made the hire. I think they're going to be wrong.
Locally, I don't know where to start. We'll start worst to first. I mean, we're not going to get into, well, we'll just say Celtics and Bruins, 1 loss at the Garden. So if you were just a homer and betting them every time they're at home, your bankroll looks pretty damn good right now. But let's go to where we'll be Thursday night. In come the Bills, 5-point favorites at New England on Turkey Day. Kind of a good effort. Mac finally looked well and good again. Come up short, 33-26, I think 33-27 the final. Thoughts about the Pats since you and I have left, where they are, and thoughts for them on Thursday, I mean.
Yeah, I think they're just really inconsistent. Going back to like talking about Alabama and them not passing the eye test, a lot of flags from them this year, a lot of penalties on Alabama. They weren't as disciplined as a Nick Saban team usually is, and I don't think this Patriots team is as disciplined as a Bill Belichick team usually is. And that turns them into the rest of the NFL when it comes to you don't know what you're going to necessarily get from them on a weekly basis. I think they completely overlooked the Jets. Like, Bill Belichick gave no respect to the Jets, and it worked. They didn't even need to score to win the game, essentially, because he was right. The Jets didn't deserve their respect in that scenario, but they needed to score. He forgot they needed to score, and they weren't prepared to score in that game plan wise, because they were clearly getting ready for Minnesota, right? They put up, they looked great offensively against Minnesota, but then it gets to going into the half and finishing off the game, and they don't have the discipline to finish off those drives, letting the clock run out. So for me, you're at home. Buffalo has looked very beatable lately. They, backbreaking mistakes in some of these games by the Bills. So, it went from 5.5 down to 5. I would probably lean Patriots with the 5 points if you made me bet the game. I think the Bills are beatable right now. This is the only game past. I do some look ahead lines, not like game of the year type of college all the way down the line, but like I usually bet the first 3 weeks or so of the season and did pretty well with those. The only game that I took past week 3, I took Bills -3 and Bills -4 money line in this game on Thursday night. So I at least have some value here to maybe look for a small middle or hedge off of some money line. But I think the Patriots are going to show up on Thursday night, because we saw that they could show up last Thursday night against a quality opponent. I think the Bills are better than the Vikings, but hey, the Vikings just won in Buffalo. And I think that this is a team, after the no punt game in the playoffs where the Bills just jammed it down their throat twice in Foxborough and then in a playoff game following the no passing game in Buffalo, Belichick's going to want to show that he can hang with the Bills. So there's some motivation for this game. So lean Patriots. I personally don't know what I'm going to do with having my Bills tickets, but it's a tough game. I tend to think the Patriots will show up.
Yeah, Bills having a hard time right now. They're winning, not winning like we thought they were, but they're not covering. So in our lanes, obviously, they're not cashing tickets. I still, as the season has progressed, Mahomes now the favorite of the MVP, and I'm starting to wonder, can you beat this Chiefs team now? And Von Miller out for a while now. It just seems like that Buffalo swagger that we thought that we were just going to circle the wagons. They're going to get the 1 seed. They're going to be at home a week off. They're going to win 2 games, go to the Super Bowl in Arizona. They still can do it. I don't get me wrong, but are you feeling you got Chiefs 1 in the AFC right now?
They should. They're the best team, but the AFC is deep with talent, and this is a big a storyline we kind of forget. Like, I feel like this is a big postseason for Mahomes. He's reached 2 Super Bowls. He has the comeback against Garoppolo, the no-show against Brady and the Bucs, and then last year they've got the Bengals beat, and they're going to the Super Bowl. And I don't know what Mahomes did at halftime, but they had that drive at the end of the half where they couldn't score. Mahomes was just kind of being cocky. They couldn't get in there. And then the whole second half, Mahomes just looked like he was swinging for home runs every play and couldn't hit a single. Like, this is a big postseason for Mahomes to kind of shed that narrative that I remember people seem to forget because he's still Mahomes and they're still a great team. So it's a big postseason for the Chiefs. I think that they are the best team, but I think the AFC has so much quality in it that nothing is there for the taking. Like, if the Chiefs were in the NFC, I would probably love them, even against a team like the Eagles. But they're not. So the Bills are right there. The Ravens aren't elite, but like, they can beat anybody. Some of these other teams that are just good enough to win, but not necessarily in that elite class of the Chiefs. We now know, because of what we saw last year, that those teams are good enough to beat the Chiefs. And we know if the Bills get that matchup, how they're feeling after the postseason last year. So like, a lot of teams are going to be out for the Chiefs, and they are beatable. So the NFL, long story short, the NFL is as unpredictable as ever, and I'm betting probably my lightest volume in the NFL right now because I think it's really difficult.
It is.
My card here's my card on Sunday, Jeff. I took the Bucs -3 against against Cleveland. Couldn't stop the 4th and 10. Njoku gets in on the touchdown, lose outright in overtime. And I took the prop. Once James Robinson was out for the Jets, I took Michael Carter over his 53.5 rushing yards against a terrible Bears defense. What does he do? He gets hurt in the first half, doesn't return. NFL is just hard, man.
No, and it's funny you say that because I talked about it last night. We ended the week on a 10-1 heater, and then Sunday we do our action parlay. And I woke up and I've been studying these numbers now for 7 days, and the NFL card to me is just anything can happen. It doesn't matter if you're 9-point favorites, 9-point dogs. It's just injuries. Who's playing? Who's not playing? As you said, the Browns last drive, OT win. And what was he doing? I got Nick Chubb on one of my fantasy teams. Thank you very much, Coach. But you just kicked the damn field goal. I don't know, what you think of there. Ravens controlling the Jaguars the whole damn game, and then they just Trevor Lawrence looked like he was playing Clemson versus UNC on that final drive. And then you got the 2-point conversions. They'll go for 2. The Chargers, hey, let's get to overtime here, please. He went for 2. You just don't know, Jules. You have no idea what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah, I haven't bet anything. I haven't bet anything this week in NFL. I do like if I think one thing's going to happen in NFL, bounce back spot for the Ravens against the Broncos team that we just have to give up on. The offense isn't good. It's not going to get good. So, I mean, not a hot take or anything, but teasing that 8.5 down to 2.5. I think the Ravens as a teaser leg. I got to figure out what I want to put it with. Unfortunately, I don't like anything else, so I don't even know what I can tease it with. But that feels like a strong bounce back spot for Baltimore at home against the Broncos. Just don't have it.
There we go. One of us froze. You all set?
I'm back.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you before we jump over to the Celtics here. Go back to August. My hot take at 14-1. I think I still got a shot here, Jules. Buffalo, Miami, Jets, and the Pats finishing last. Is it still alive?
It's very much alive. Yeah. I don't think the Patriots or Jets are going to have very strong finishes, but you're ahead by a game. And now you also have to worry about Miami winning the division from Buffalo because Miami is good and Buffalo has shown some weakness. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are up for grabs. But what's the number you said? 14-1?
14-1.
Very much live. I would gladly buy that ticket from you right now.
All right, let's talk to the amazing story. The Celtics, off season, runner-ups. Let's go get Gallinari. Let's sneak in and go grab Brogdon. And then obviously the coaching fiasco. I didn't know what to expect. I kind of was thinking of a hangover. I mean, they started so sluggish last year. New coach, Gallinari, her Time Lord probably out till January. We'll just muck it through. We'll get, maybe 2-3 games over 500. We'll figure it out. We'll get to the second half of the year. Time Lord comes back. Gallinari maybe comes back in March, whenever. Everyone's happy. Did you see this start coming? I mean, this team is just a freak right now.
I didn't see them losing much of a beat from last year. I thought they would kind of continue on that pace, but you kind of forget how good that pace was at the end of last season from like February on, and they've been better than that. And the offense has been the best offense in NBA history. So no, obviously you can't say that you saw that coming. I thought they would be good, in the mix 1, 2, 3 in the East with a chance to land the 1 seed in the East. And there they are in the 1 seed now, but 17-4 and scoring at the rate that they're scoring. No, I don't think anybody saw that. Especially with Gallinari and Rob Williams out, because Rob Williams helps on offense too. It's not like he's just a defender. He really helps them offensively, finishing around the rim, which they don't even have. Like, they don't have a guy to do that, but they still shoot the lights out. And it's their depth and it's their chemistry and the way that they're playing right now. So Celtics first half team totals at home, I believe, are 11-0 to the over now. Bet it. I've been betting it most games. They're averaging close to 70, maybe even over 70 during this 4-game homestand now. And so on Sunday, it's 57.5, I think, against the Wizards with Jason Tatum out. They surpass it with over 5 minutes to go in the first half. On Monday, it's 58.5 against Charlotte with Jaylen Brown and Al Horford out. They surpass it with 6 minutes to go in the first half and land on 78. It doesn't, unless Brown and Tatum are both out, it probably doesn't really matter. You just need one of those guys on the floor with the rest of the pieces, and they're going to score because Pritchard can shoot, Hauser can shoot, Brogdon can – he's the third creator now on the floor, and he can shoot. Smart's playing just about as well as a point guard position as he's played in his career. Derek White is shooting the ball well. They have no holes offensively at all, and they're just going to keep scoring. So Celtics first half team total is my favorite trend in sports right now. At home, typically, but they probably get it on the road too.
How's NBA been treating you? How you been attacking the board? You talked about the NFL, and it is what it is. I think it's easier to try to dissect the Monday game, the Thursday game, and then, if you got a couple little spots on Sunday, I sprinkle this and that, but maybe the prop market's the way to go. How are you attacking the NBA board, Jules?
Yeah, NBA I'm a little bit above. I think I'm up 2 units or something close to 2 units. It's been fine. I would prefer to be up more at this point in the season. Usually I do pretty well the first month and a half, so not as good as usual. And I think a piece of that is just the prop market sharpening up. You used to be able to anticipate a little bit more on injury news and play a prop and get good closing line value on it. And now, books are withholding players that, because Jaylen Brown is questionable, maybe we won't offer Jason Tatum props right now until we know, when before Jason Tatum would be on the board and it's just Jaylen Brown being withheld. So like spots that I would hit pretty heavily are now kind of being taken away from us. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I need to adjust my style. It's just, if those aren't there, I need to focus more on, the more traditional spots, which I typically do okay with, but just not off to the start that I wanted to be this season. But you find things like Celtics first half team total. Last year it was Grizzlies first quarter team total. You find little things that kind of keep feeding your bankroll, and then go along with the rest. So there aren't that many trends in the NBA right now that I'm crazy about. I think like the Kings are a little bit undervalued of a team, and they lost at home to the Suns last night, so maybe they'll be coming up in a bounce back spot. Obviously riding the Celtics. And eventually we're going to get to some of these teams that are tanking that just look even worse. And that's when we can start to maybe put together some money line parlays and things like that.
We're waiting for 2023 for Mass to launch. Obviously, you work for DK, DraftKings, and this is your home state of Boston. I see you every day behind Felger and Maz, and you guys are prominent. I sent you a text message yesterday saying, geez, wouldn't it be nice, a nice retail sports book either at the Garden or Fenway or at Gillette, the big plaza at Gillette, that sets up well. My question to you as we close up here, because you have another show to go to, can you give Mass any insight? I know you don't know, but I'm just saying, give us some hope. Will we look in 2023 retail for the Super Bowl, and then hopefully mobile for March and the March Madness? Is that what you're hearing as well?
That's what the plan sounds like. Getting going somewhere at the top of 2023, and then mobile, to follow a couple months after. So that would be great. Get the DK Sportsbook app going on everyone's phone for March Madness. I would be happy with that. I think a lot of people would be happy with that. And yeah, I got no say in terms of the retail shops, but I couldn't agree more. We saw the beautiful one that they have coming in Wrigley. There's books in different NBA and NHL arenas across leagues right now. So getting the DraftKings brand, which is, you see the partnerships, like we're close with all these teams in Boston, getting, retail sportsbook shops in and around the Boston sports scene would be tremendous if the people that are much smarter and much more important than me can get that together.
Thursday night, Pats Bills. Any boosts, any props, any Hail Marys to the fans watching and listening?
That's a good question. You know what? I got to look at what we have going for NFL, because I'm just getting back into the swing of things. But I know we are running some NBA boosts on Wednesdays and Fridays. So you can take a look at those on DK Sportsbook.
The one and only Julian Edlow. You can follow him on Twitter at Julian Edlow, at DraftKings, at DK Sportsbook, DK Live, and of course at the Unreasonable Odd Podcast. Jules, blessed on it. Thanks. So glad to have you back. Have a great week, and we'll catch up with you next Tuesday.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Julian. Wow, it's great to be back. It is great to be back with Julian Edlow, just right down the road for me. Hoping to connect with him before the holidays. Our Tuesday 10:20 to 10:50 show, talking Boston market, talking sports, props, futures, DK, where they going to be. I love the thought of having them maybe at Gillette, at the big park place, maybe at Fenway Park. A retail setting, I think, would be kind of neat, and I look forward to it. 1 o'clock, I'll be on with Pops for the NFL Bet Exchange. Around 4:30 today, myself and Southside Riley will catch you up with the closing bell. Always a pleasure. TJ, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank everyone for watching and listening. We'll see if we can keep the heater going with the ECSI VIPs. Dallas Stars last night, 4-1 winner. That takes the heater to 11-1 our last 12. We'll see if we can keep it up for the family. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Julian Edlow at Julian Edlow at DraftKings. We wish everyone a great, great morning. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you soon.